This is We the Sales Engineers podcast, show 303.
Welcome to We the SEs podcast, the show for sales engineers by sales engineers with your host, Ramsey Majaba.
What's up, SE Nation? Welcome back to another episode of We the Sales Engineers podcast. I am your host, Ramsey Majaba, and I have a nice guest today. He's been on the show in the past, and he wanted to come back. You know him by the name of Muhammad Sharaf. I know him by the same name, I guess. And the reason he wanted to come back is he wanted to discuss specifically how to get a job at a company like AWS. So we talk about interview process, we talk about the things that you should know, where you can find different opportunities, what it's like to onboard as a solution architect, what different types of solution architects there are. So we talk about a lot of different stuff, and there's a lot to it. So let's just jump into the show. Good morning, Mohammed. Welcome back to the show. Happy to have you.
Hey, good morning. Thank you so much for having me here.
Well, it's my pleasure. I enjoyed it so much. I'm trying to make it rhyme. Nah. I'm happy to have you twice. Maybe we'll see if we'll do more. Looks like we're gonna do more. But one topic we were discussing last time, by the way, I'll leave that link in the show notes for our last episode, was like working for the cloud, right? Especially as a sales engineer. So maybe we'll start off by providing a simple definition of when you say cloud.
Yep.
What does that mean?
So it has many several meanings. So first of all, cloud providers. So when you refer to the cloud providers, these are the big ones like Amazon, like Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud, and so on. So these are the providers who have their data centers ready and available for you through services to run your workloads on. Also, other cloud roles would be with cloud consultants, cloud partners. So all these different types of organizations are providing roles and jobs for people who have expertise with cloud technologies.
Okay. And to clarify, there's more than just three like cloud providers.
Of course.
There are smaller ones like Digital.
Of course.
So
yeah,
it might be easier to get a job at a smaller one than it is to get a bigger one.
Yeah, of course. So that's one important point when you are looking for a job for a cloud provider. It's not always it's not only for one of these three huge organizations, but there are other mid-sized and smaller ones that provide very interesting roles as well. And in some cases, they have more and more opportunities than the big ones or the main or the major cloud providers, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. And when you say workloads, just again can you define what workload means?
So here's the deal. Like prior to the cloud, people used to run their workloads on data centers or their applications, their data, things that they run to run their business, IT stuff, like anything that you run on a computer, to be very like to put it in very simple terms. So long ago, you would, if you have like an organization and you need to run this software, and then you will build a data center or a server room, as it was named before that. In this data center, you add your rack and stack some computers, server computers, then you add your applications and data, and you store it in there, and you run it from there, right?
Yeah.
And then Amazon AWS was created some, like, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago or something.
Long time ago.
Yeah, sometimes. I think so. Yeah, 2003 or so. And they had their own data centers, and they were running their business for like selling books and stuff. Then they thought, okay, we have a very nice way to manage these data centers. Why don't we rent it out to others? Yeah. And that's where the cloud started. So now the cloud, as we like look at it, it's a set of services that are available over the internet for people to run their application, to enable them to manage and run their applications on these data centers owned by Amazon AWS, and they call it the cloud, the AWS cloud. Similarly, Google has done the same, like the GCP or the Google Cloud, and Microsoft Azure, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, OCI, IBM had one, and several others as well.
Yeah.
So that's the like how it is. But from a role perspective, now there is anyone who's working on the IT industry will be working on the cloud in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So if you are a developer, you are going to be running your workloads or developing on the cloud using the cloud technologies and services available in there. If you are an infrastructure professional, then now you are going to be turning to cloud infrastructure and building cloud environments and whatnot. So that's how it is. So there are many roles, many jobs on the cloud today.
Okay. Are there roles that are specific to the cloud, had nothing to do with IT? Like they were just created like once the cloud showed up?
Of course, yes.
Yes,
it started with the roles that were transitioning from on-premise type of data centers into the cloud, but then new services were created only on the cloud that now has people who are experts in there. So when you look at the modernization services or services that are running only on the cloud, like serverless services and similar ones, building applications only on the cloud, these were not there previously. So the actual stacks and technologies that are used to build applications on the cloud, and specifically on, maybe I'm going to talk about AWS because that's what I know more. Some serverless modules and services in there are only available in there, so you can only use them on the cloud. That were not available on premise before that. So usually when you look at this journey, any organization that has workloads running on premise, the first step they are looking for, or they will be looking for, is to move or migrate their current workloads the same way they are. So having, like, let's say, a set of servers running Windows or Linux and having some Java applications running there. They want to move them as is from point A to point B into the cloud, maybe AWS. Then they look at these types of applications or workloads, and these are legacy applications. So they have been built like several years ago. Now they look, okay, now we have new services that can do the same functionality, that are much faster, that are managed by the cloud provider, that we don't need to worry much about how the plumbing runs, but we need to focus more onto our application. Then they start moving this into these new services. So like a very simple example, if you were running a database, like an Oracle database or a Microsoft SQL Server database on-premise, you need a networking person, you need an operating systems person, you need a database person, and then you need a developer who develops this application on the database, like designing the tables and whatnot.
I mean, the developer was there already, right?
Yes.
But now you want to move it, and that opened up a bunch of roles for because for networking, database architect, and all that. Well, the database architect was also there, but they were focused on-prem. They just now moved to the cloud.
That's true. And their roles are different because now they are managing the applications layer than managing the backups of the data, for instance. These are provided for them.
Yeah. Like in the past, people who manage the database had to update the database and make sure everything's working.
Install patches, do everything.
Yeah.
Now they're not. And
I
that's
mean, they still could if they want to. Like if they install, like they can create a VM, a Linux VM, and install the database as is, but they're defeating the purpose of using the cloud at that point.
That's for sure the first step that they do. So if you start a migration journey with one of these workloads, the first step is to just move it into VMs, which are called EC2 instances on AWS. But then the next steps are to use these managed services.
Right.
Managed services means that you will not worry about all these underlying plumbing and just focus on building more and more innovation into your products and services.
Okay, so I want to differentiate. There are people who are already working in IT, and there are people who want to break into IT.
Yes.
If people are already working in IT, what would they need to do to move and start working cloud IT versus like on-prem IT? Is there something they need, or just does it happen automatically?
So in order to, if you are already in the IT, there are roles that are more likely to be suitable for you according to what you're doing today. So if you are a networking engineer working for Cisco, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Or a similar networking organization or company, or you have this technology, and then you are going to move to work on the cloud, you'll probably be focused more on building complex networking across clouds or between the cloud provider that you're using and your organization data centers. So you will be focusing on networking and how to create topologies and all this stuff still on the cloud.
Right.
Another person who is a database administrator would be working more into data and building data lakes, databases, and whatnot. So there is a lot of different specialities within the cloud that people need to work or to go towards that. So working for the cloud or in the cloud doesn't mean that everybody is going to be having like a similar set of knowledge and then they are all doing the same work. You build foundation, but then there are much specialties. And this is very obvious when you look at the certifications. Like if you look at the certification from any cloud provider, you will see basic things, basic certifications like the architect associate, but then there is the professional, and then there is a networking specialty, then there is a big data specialty, and so on. Security is also a very important specialty that people go through. So definitely, based on your background, you're going to be selecting one path to go through.
It's funny how you call it basic for the solution architect associate.
That's true.
Because I'm from a networking background, and the networking part in the solution architect associate is so small.
Yes.
And the rest is like databases is big and all the other things are big. And I'm like man,
I think you only feel like that because the networking part was easy for you.
Yeah.
So you went through it very fast.
Like, yeah, it's just like it makes sense. It's basically it's all the same. Oh, you put a firewall, you put a load balancer.
Exactly.
Like it's not a big deal.
But then you might struggle with a different field that you are not familiar with. But anyways, yes, you're right. When we look at the solutions architect associate certificate, I think this is the first step. It's the very basic one. That was actually the very first certificate that you would pursue before the practitioner was created.
Yeah.
But for technical people, I wouldn't recommend even thinking about the practitioner. It would be like very, very basic for you. It's really meant for business people to get an understanding of what the cloud is. Yeah. So let's say that the associate is the basic one, but then you look at one or more of the specialty certificates.
Yeah. I mean, at one point I skipped the associate and started studying the networking one.
Yes,
I found it easier for me just to understand what's going on there.
And this makes sense. Several years ago, it was a prerequisite requirement. Yeah. Today, I believe it's not. So you can just pursue any certificate as long as you are ready for it.
Yeah. It's similar but different. So there is a lot of work that needs to be done.
Yeah. Yes.
How about for new? I think we're going to focus more on joining the vendor, like cert cloud provider.
Yes.
But talking in IT in general, if someone wants to break into IT,
yes.
What would you recommend to be the first step? Like either they're out of university or they're trying to change change careers.
Understood. So whether you are out of university or you are changing careers, moving into the cloud is a very good move. And the type of roles that you're going to pursue are going to be a little bit different than a person who has been working for 10 or 20 years. So you would go more on roles that has to do more with operations on the cloud, DevOps, stuff that can be taught and easy to learn and doesn't have, it has more on running scripts, or building or maybe monitoring applications that are running than building new solutions. That's the first step. Because the reason I'm saying that is because if you are there to migrate workloads or build solutions or build networking, you need these years of experience from before to apply to what you're going to be doing. Like the tools are there, the services are there, but the approach and the methodology is built by time. So if you are new, the best way to do is start by taking the certification. So get the associate architect certification, get the SysOps or the developer associate certification. These are all the easier ones, but then get an internship maybe, or get to do some freelancing. So you need to have some hands-on, and always go towards the DevOps part, which is the easier entry into the cloud field. Then within there, you will start seeing, okay, now there are, like, if you are more into the data, then you will move more into analytics, machine learning, data related. Or if you are more into building applications, mobile apps, web apps, then you will take the path for serverless and similar, and so on. So it depends on where you go. If you're new, then start by the certification and some internship, I would say. And by the way, all these cloud providers, they all provide internships, a lot of them. Okay. Plus, there is a lot of free training that they provide, so you can start. That's how you tackle that.
Is the internship through university, or like you don't have to be part of university to actually get an internship?
The internships are usually you apply for it through, like, I don't know about the other providers, but with Amazon AWS, they have internships available usually for, they say that, yeah, this one is for graduates of this year to that year. So they have, like, they want people who are just like being graduated. Okay. But I don't believe that it requires your university to be involved for you to apply. Okay.
Actually, let me go check. I'm gonna go on AWS.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it live. Probably not. Okay, so I'm doing that search. The thought that pops in my head, like, everybody right now is looking for remote jobs.
Yes.
When you're working in IT, there's when you're working on-prem, there's a lot of, cabling and fixing and rebooting servers and all that. Do you find it's like people can work remotely in the cloud, or are there jobs available? What are the trends? Are people moving back to the office?
Yeah. This depends on the role. So at the end of the day, the cloud is just another data center, but owned by a different organization. It's a huge data centers. So people who work in the data center industry, people who like rack and stack servers and put cabling, definitely are going to be in the data centers.
Yeah.
But we are talking here about the other, like the more popular roles of solutions architects or cloud engineers or even cloud developers. There is no need to be in the office for these roles, like to be able to access the systems and access the services. However, some roles still need to be there within the teams in order to collaborate. So let's say that we have like a development team who is like, like building a product or something. They need to be together. They might need to be together for collaboration. In the past years, we have all been working remotely. Like the majority of IT personnel have been working remotely. But starting like last year and mid last year and this year, there is a trend among these cloud providers to bring people back in the office. For instance, Amazon is now mandating that everyone goes back to the office like at least 2 or 3 days per week. There are some exceptions. Exceptions is for salespeople, solutions architect within the sales organization.
Yeah.
Because these people are usually like traveling, seeing customers, than sitting in an office. And because they are like the teams, the sales teams and technical sales teams are usually distributed across the continent.
Yeah.
So it's not making sense to have them all in one place because they cover like geographical locations, right?
If you're in the office, you're not doing your job.
Probably. Unless you can,
there are occasions where you're in the office. But
yes.
even if you're doing an internship or you're new to the role or anything like that, it's good to be in the office.
Of course.
Otherwise,
yeah. If we talk about internship, it's totally different. You need to be in the office, or even if you're new, you need to be in the office. You need to see people. You need to learn. You need to find a mentor. You need to have this personal relationship in order to start building this. Rather than sitting in your own room, you wouldn't like have the sense of what's going on if you're not there.
Yeah, and also like even if you're experienced and you're joining a company, like I'm not talking about AWS, like Amazon or Google or anything like that, but a lot of people join new companies and they work remotely.
Yes.
And the onboarding sucks.
Yes.
So even if they're experienced, it's not going to be a pleasant experience.
Yes.
So if I guess my tip for the day, if you're trying to join a new company, you don't have the experience, it's always best to be on site. Because I work with a lot of people who don't want to go on site or they live far away from any hub. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be difficult for you to actually, one, find a job because people want people close to hubs.
Yep.
And two, be good at it in a fast period of time. Like it might take you longer to be efficient, which most employers don't want that. They want people to be efficient as soon as possible.
Yes. There are always cons and pros for each one. You're right. But again, if we're gonna like talk more about the solutions architect role or the technical sales role, this is a role that is usually remote. Even if you are gonna be in the office or near a hub, you will go there 1 or 2 days for building relationships, for like having like more of a personal relationship with others, like seeing your team, seeing your the other teams and so on. But the majority of your work will be with customers. So you will be still in an office, but eventually a customer's office, which makes more sense to you that you be at.
Does Amazon specifically have like for new grads or people changing careers again, do they have like an SE or SA academy that people go through? They do?
A very rigorous one that really is very interesting, very I would say challenging too. It's challenging to the extent that some people who are not really like meant to be solutions architects would leave if they don't, when they go and see it. And I'm not saying that it's difficult. I mean, it is really like meant for SAs, solutions architects, or pre-sales engineers. And I'm gonna talk about this specifically. So the onboarding process goes for 90 days.
Okay.
And within these 90 days, you will get to do several trainings. And these trainings are both on a technical side. You need to get certifications, you need to be certified, but also on the processes and how to run engagements and whatnot. But then there is a program that's called Awesome Builder. So the Awesome Builder program is it's an internal program where you will simulate like an engagement with a customer, and your peers are going to be taking the roles of the different customer roles, and then you need to deliver multiple things. You need to deliver a first callback, you need to deliver a solution, you need to present the solution, you need to sell the solution to them. And they really like, they go over this and they give you feedback on each and every word that you say, to the extent of looking at how the aesthetics of your presentation and whatnot. So it's very interesting. And it, like in 90 days, it takes you from this level like to much higher level and get you ready to go and see the customer. So you really like get through that before you see the first customer, which is like helping much, during which you will do a lot of shadowing, of course. But what I meant is to lead your engagement with your customer, you need to go through this first.
So I'm trying to, if you have the link for that Like,
yeah. It's unfortunately it's only internal. So it's only
so
when
where do
you
people apply?
to apply for the roles.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a different thing. So let me for like there is a website called Amazon.jobs. That's where people would apply.
All the jobs are there,
All the
not
jobs. Any job that's gonna be available is gonna be on Amazon.jobs.
okay.
And let me talk about this more. I'm gonna share with you the link first. Let me
The reason I'm asking about it is like
yeah.
Dell, for example, has a link specifically for their academy. Right?
No, I think you're talking about a different type of academy. We have the skill builder. The skill builder is the academy or the website, the platform where you will see all the trainings for end
No,
users, training for partners
no.
and whatnot.
So I'm taking Dell as an example because I know that people click on that link and can apply to jobs to join the academy, the SA, the Solution Engineer Academy,
I
and then
see.
they go through that material. But there are other organizations where people apply to associate level SAs roles, and
Yep.
they're automatically put into that
Okay.
university, if you will, or academy, or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit different because what I referred to was an internal academy for whenever you are hired already. I shared with you the link to the Amazon.jobs website, the second link I shared with you here. This is where anyone who's like gonna be joining Amazon, they need to apply in there. And
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, is that like the what's it called? The builder? What did you say?
Skill builder. Skill builder is a different thing. It's a platform that has trainings on the different services available.
What's the SA training? Specific SA training? What did you call it? Awesome.
The Awesome Builder is the names are maybe a little bit confusing. Again, that's Awesome Builder is the program that SAs will join when they get hired. So it's an onboard. This one is for SAs, yes.
Oh, but all essays, not just
all essays.
Junior
No.
essays. It's experienced essays come in and have to go through that.
Yes. Everyone. You have got to actually graduate to maintain your job within AWS if you are going to be working as an SA. So you have to do this. It's just a fancy name for your onboarding process.
Yeah. Okay. So it's an onboarding program, which
Yep.
So even junior, would they put like junior essays at the same class or onboarding as senior essays?
Right, because it's not a class where you sit down and receive like a class. It's more of you building something. So you get challenges. So now you need to build a first call deck or like the initial deck for a service. So if you are a senior one, you are expected to have a higher quality, a more complex solution than if you are just like new hire. So I think, and plus, usually SAs, solutions architects, are not very junior roles. Like usually the junior roles are joining in different capacity than an SA.
Okay. All right. So that makes sense.
Yep. Okay. I wanted to talk about like how do you join if you are a solutions architect. First of all, when you look at the jobs, the different jobs on AWS, you will see two main types of roles: the individual contributor role and the manager role.
Yeah.
And both are having different levels. So any role can have like a job level of like let's say a solutions architect, a senior solutions architect, a principal solutions architect, and so on. And the manager, the same, like manager, senior manager, and so on. So these are two parallel paths. The differences are the individual contributor is a person who will be working on a specific role with specific responsibilities to deliver something like again within the solutions architect realm is going to be either a customer solutions architect will work with the account teams and provide solutions. The manager, on the contrary, will be more managing a group of people, 5 to 7 people. So all teams within Amazon are like in this capacity,
5 to 7 people.
Yes.
Jeez.
And then if you have more, then a new manager will pop up, and we have 2 managers, and then they will split the teams and so on. So always a 2 pizza team. So which means that you can feed your whole team using 2 pizzas. So that's the size. that's the size of teams. And sometimes it goes to 10 people. But I mean, in this, like, there's no team that's like, okay, 35 people.
What if someone eats a lot of pizzas? What happens then?
Well, that would be a problem. But
you need to put someone on a diet.
Exactly. Everyone is going to be on a diet. But what I mean is, you wouldn't find one manager who is managing like 35 people or so. It's always like smaller teams, and we have hierarchy. That's why it's like a lot of hierarchy in here. And it doesn't necessarily mean that when you are not a manager, doesn't mean that you are not senior enough, or like you don't necessarily need to turn into a manager to pursue your career. You can still stay on an individual contributor role and be very like a senior, like a principal or maybe more. So going back, we're gonna focus on these job levels, like we call them level 5, level 6, level 7, which are the senior and principal. And even so the roles themselves, as we mentioned, the solutions architect, they can be working with the sales or the pre-sales capacity. So these are within the sales organization. They help.
Is there a difference between solution architect and pre-sales? Because I thought all.
No, the solutions architect can be within AWS. You can be a solutions architect working for professional services.
Okay.
So the term solutions architect, although the majority of them are the pre-sales architects, but you will see solutions architects who are specialists or solutions architects who work for other groups. So these are the differences I'm just mentioning. So
you
can be a pre-sales solutions architect. So you work to help within the pre-sales cycle. So you work with your sales team. Right, with an account manager, and you work through closing a specific engagement.
Okay.
You can be a specialized solutions architect, so still within the pre-sales, but you're focused on something like migrations or security. So there is a security pre-sales solutions architect. When they go and talk to the customer, they only talk security and security-related solutions, right? Also, the professional services, which are more of the hands-on implementation arm on Amazon AWS, they have solutions architects, or you can call them cloud architects. Again, these are the ones who put the actual architecture and the design for the specific implementation that's going to happen.
So these are post-sales.
These are post-sales, right. Okay. So that's why when you go to the jobs website, the Amazon jobs, and then you search for solutions architect, you need to look at the group that this role is for. If it says professional services or ProServe, then you are looking at an implementation role, like within the post-sales. If it doesn't mention that, or if it mentions a region or a geographical location, then it's probably on the pre-sales. So that's one thing I wanted to mention here when you go and look at the different jobs. Right.
One question about you said it's usually a senior role. What is the minimum? Or I don't know if you know the answer to this, but what would you know what the minimum level is for a solution architect?
I think it depends on your specific expertise. Like a person who has been working for like 5 or 7 years, if they have been working for like a consulting partner or a consultant, they probably have a lot of experience. They can just join, right? It depends on your path towards this role. But I have seen people who are very young working as SAs. And I have seen people who are already retired and then they came back because they love it. So it's not related to like the number of years. It depends on what you know and what you can provide. The thing that I wanted to say here is a solutions architect will make best judgment and come up with a solution
Right.
To solve a problem. So in order to get to this level, you need to have seen several of these problems and how they have been solved in order to build your own expertise in there. So that's what I meant. If you're just like a fresh graduate, you have not seen the different solutions yet, and you have not seen the different approaches. So it's a little bit tough. It makes more sense to start working on a more hands-on implementation role to get to learn more before you move into these types of roles for a solutions architect. Plus, as you know, as we have maybe spoke before and many other podcasts that you have, the solutions architect is a customer-facing person. So there is another set of caliber and skills and traits that they need to have to present and to speak business and to identify pain points and listen to the customers. So all these you need to have them in order to be a solutions architect, which means that you need to build these once you like a couple of years after you graduate.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
So again, to find the role within, I'm going to talk about AWS, but I think what I say can go with other providers as well. The first step is to look at the Amazon.jobs website. The Amazon.jobs will have all the roles that are published. There are no unpublished roles. There are not, even if there is an internal role, it will be published and marked as internal only. And so that's the first or the only platform that you will look at in order to find the jobs. Another way or another approach is to get referred. So when you get referred to a role, you get referred through a person who works for Amazon AWS. And in this case, they need to refer you before you apply. You don't go directly and apply. You reach out to the person whom you know, and you ask them to refer you. When they refer you, you will get an email so you can apply. And that's a big difference. Some people would go ahead and apply for a job and then reach out to me and say, hey, can you refer me? I can't anymore because you already applied. You need to, okay, if you know me, if you want me to refer you, reach out to me and say, hey, I want this role, and send me the job ID from the Amazon.jobs, and then I will refer you. Referral is very important because if there are many people like applying, the hiring manager would really prefer someone who knows someone, right? Because at least this is an initial filtering that you have someone to advocate for you from within the organization who knows you probably, and it can tell if you are legit or not. A third way is very is very popular, is a headhunter who would reach you through LinkedIn, and this headhunter would be still like a recruiter within Amazon AWS, and they go out and find right caliber of people, and then they ask them to apply to specific roles. So these are the ways to find a role.
Yeah, I mean, so we've had situations where some companies, you have to talk to someone like, hey, Mohammed, can you refer me to this? And you have to send me a link. Other companies, I can just put your name as the, like, who referred you to this job? How did you find out about this job? Mohammed. And then it works. So people get confused, like, hey, should I apply and then tell, or should I? But generally speaking, don't apply to a job and say that someone referred you without asking that person. Right?
Yes,
that's the
general rule. For sure. And it's always better to reach out to the person and ask them before you apply. It's if he or she tells you, yeah, go ahead and apply, then give me the link, it's fine. So you don't lose the opportunity.
Another thing I wanted to add, like, for the headhunter situation, the best way to get them to call you is for them to know you, right? If you connect with as many headhunters as possible, internal recruiters or other AWS individuals, that will make you a little bit more visible to the headhunters than others. So that will make it easier as well.
That's very true. And again, LinkedIn and managing a good LinkedIn profile would help headhunters find you when they are looking for. And again, I'm not saying that this is like the only way, but this is one way that eventually I got a couple of times where a headhunter would reach out to me for a specific role, and AWS or Amazon is doing the same. But definitely, if you are out and looking for a job and you wanted to join AWS, then you go and find a referral, then go and find a job and go through this. It's going to be as good as if you have a headhunter refer you or bring you in.
Like, do you ever say no to people? Like, if some random person reaches out to you, it's like, hey, Mohammed, can you refer me to this job? Do you always say yes?
It's not always. I don't always say yes, but in the like the majority of times I would definitely help. I look at the person who is reaching out to me and look at their profile and see if these are people who are legitimate, they are serious about it, they are not just wasting my time, and they are also suitable for the role. Because I'm going to be putting my name next to this person and say, hey, this guy I'm referring or this girl, I want to make sure that they are at least within the acceptable criteria.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then I don't see a reason why I wouldn't help. Like many people will help. Right? I know some people are just like they hit others, but I'm talking about the majority of times.
Yeah,
people are helpful. They want to help others.
Like we've had people like reach out to some, and they would say, "Well, I don't know you. How can I refer you?" Right? Which is fair, right?
Yes, and it has a solution here. So when we refer a person within Amazon, there's an option. There are two options. You can either select that there's this person personally, or you have worked with them, or you are referring them because you think they are a good candidate or that they are suitable. So you still give an indication on whether you know this person in person or not,
right?
But you are bringing in a good profile for referring.
And you mentioned you look at the minimum, if they meet the minimum requirements or whatever. Yeah. What is that? Is that like AWS's minimum requirements or your minimum requirements?
No, it's not like my minimum requirement. It's like that. So I'll give you an example. Just yesterday, some person reached out to me on LinkedIn. She said, "I'm in the last year in this university. Her major is in IT, and she wants to start an internship. She wants referral." The profile is perfectly fine for a referral. Yeah. If she was asking me, "I want to apply for a senior solutions architect," I wouldn't do it because I know that it's not going to happen. Probably it's not. See what I mean? And I would again answer to her and say, "Hey, here's what I think. You need to do this. You need to do that. It's fine." But when it makes sense, then it makes sense. Then I just refer them. Why not? I mean, at the end of the day, they did the due diligence. They found me on LinkedIn. They did the search. And they wanted something. Why not?
And also, a lot of companies pay the referral. If they get the job, the referrer gets
the referral fees.
Gets it small. It's not. I'm not saying you're gonna make money off of just referring people, and you can live the good life and not do the job. But it's it's enough an incentive for it to be a win-win.
Yes, but what's more important than the money that comes back from referring people is a very important principle of the Amazon principles, which is to hire the best and to hire people and to help expand the teams and so on. So that's an important aspect. So people tend to hire good people into Amazon AWS as well.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm running out of questions, Mohammed. Is there something you wanted me to ask which I did not?
Yes. The interview process I wanted to go through. Okay. So what happened? So let's say that you applied to a job, and what's next?
This is for the SA role specifically, or
it's for any role, but I'm gonna focus this on the SA role.
Okay. Yeah.
So the initial thing is you're gonna get an initial call from a recruiter. This is a 30 minutes call. They will just really check and see if you are true, if you are there, if you are available. If it's a litmus paper check, right? And just make sure that you are within the acceptable criteria, right? And if you are okay, if they are okay and all things are good, they will schedule the meetings. The next one will be, we call it the loop. it's in one whole day of interviews, and that's how it goes. You get about 5 interviews in one day.
Why is it called the loop?
Because you go from one to the other to the other, and so on. And so 5 interviews, 50 minutes each. One person, sometimes 2 people per interview. Like usually in an office, unless you are in a remote place or they are in a remote place or something, then it can be virtual. And each and every person on these in this loop will be focusing on asking you questions related to one of the Amazon leadership principles. And I shared to you with you the link to the leadership principles. So if you can share it later on.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk about this in a second, the principles and how to do about them. But anyways, each person will focus on one of these, and then they will start asking you questions and behavior questions, situational questions, and then you start answering them within this 50 minutes. And then you take 10 minutes break, and then you go to the next one, and so on. The people who are going to be interviewing you are mainly the hiring manager, the person who is hiring you, a peer or 2, like from the team that is hiring, a manager from a different team, and a bar raiser. A bar raiser is a person who is definitely not from the hiring team, not from this team that is hiring. He's from a different team, and he is like a special type of person who has been like trained to be a bar raiser, and their role here is to make sure that whomever they hire is better than 50% of the typical team. So raising the bar, to be specific. This might seem like scary a little bit, but it's not. They're just trying to make sure that you have something special, something to add, something that they are interested in. So their questions would be more on understanding what you can bring, what are the like achievements that you have done, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So and then they all after this loop, they will go back, and then they have to all agree that or be inclined that you are a good candidate. If someone is not inclined, like a peer is not inclined, but others are inclined, then maybe they just still agree to get you. If everybody agrees that you are a good candidate, but the bar raiser does not agree to this, you will not get hired. Okay. So he's like having a veto, right? Of course, the hiring manager also has this. He has this right, so he can say, "Oh, no, I don't want you." But it's important to understand that all these people are spending a lot of time, which is a lot of money actually, and the role is to, or the target is to hire you. It's not the other way around. So they will be trying to help you as much as they can to get you in, because they want to fill a role, they have an immediate need, and they need you in. So it's not, so it's usually they just like are trying to find the best out of you in these interviews in order to hire you. And by the way, if a person is not inclined to hire you, they need to put a very detailed report. Why is that? It's not easy. It's not like, okay, I don't like him, he's not gonna be, it cannot go like that. They need to have a very, like, if you lie, for instance, if you say 2 different things that are obviously a lie, yeah, you're not gonna be hired. Yeah. But that's a very clear thing, like you are lying about your career or something. But otherwise, they tend to help. Also, you might be recycled. Recycled means 2 people have been applying, interviewing for a role, and they are both good. They want them both. They don't want to lose any of them. They select one for this role, but then they recycle the other person to different teams who are hiring, and they say, hey, we have done the loop with them. They are good. They are ready to be hired. We cannot hire them. If you are having a role, take them. Then you go and you just speak for 30 minutes to the hiring manager, and then you get hired. Okay. So still trying to get people in. Okay. Saying that, it's not an easy role. So if you apply for a role and you don't get hired, it's not the end of the world. You can apply again in 6 months. Some people apply 4 or 5 times. That's fine. Doesn't mean that you are not good enough. Doesn't mean that people in there are better than you. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that maybe at this time with your interview, with the people who were hiring or interviewing you, something wasn't aligned. So you just retry and then you will get in. For the solutions architect jobs, they will also ask you to do a presentation plus this loop. So that's special for the SA. So a presentation, because you were going to be presenting to customers. So they ask you, okay, here's a topic, like, or tell us something, or build a simple high availability solution running a website or something and present it to us.
Right.
Then you build your presentation and then you meet the same team collectively and you present for them as if they were a customer. So that's the process. And then if after all these you get like if they all agree, then the recruiter is going to call you and give you an offer. If not, they will still call you. So they will call you anyways. They're not going to go like dark, right? So they're going to call you. No, they're going to call you and they're going to say, yeah, we have decided to not like hire you for this time, and thank you for your time. And they will keep your profile for other roles, and you definitely can apply again. One important thing I think I wanted to mention is that the recruiter in the very beginning, some of these recruiters are really very talented. They would really prepare you for the loop. So they will tell you, you need to learn about the leadership principles. You need to learn about the STAR methodology and on how to answer. I'm going to talk about this, which you hate. I know that you hate. You mentioned this in a previous podcast, but yeah, definitely you need to love if you're going to be working for or applying for Amazon, and because they are expecting that to happen,
right?
And then help you to go through the process. So that's how you how the whole process is. Now, how do you prepare for the interview is a different thing. I wanted to talk about the approach for it. When they ask you, the questions that you get asked are very few functional questions, like how you do this technical stuff. I mean, the majority is behavioral. Like they wanted to see how you deal with different situations. That's why it's all called situational questions. And as I mentioned, every interviewer will have one of the leadership principles and they will focus on. So you will get a lot of questions like, okay, tell me about the time when you had to show customer obsession while building something or while delivering something to a customer. You need to think about situations and tell them about it in the STAR methodology, which means you define a situation and then you identify the tasks that you had to do. Then you tell them about the actions that you have been doing and then what the results were.
Yeah.
You go through this methodology and they will start, when you go there, they will start diving deeper into them, like asking you to give them more details. Make sure that you, when they ask this, then you elaborate more. And sometimes when they ask you, like they go 4 or 5 times asking you about more and more, have patience and never like reach a point of, okay, why are they doing this? Like, I don't have nothing to say. This is one more thing they are checking, that if this is a customer and the customer is upsetting you, how are you going to be responding? So that's the important thing, to have patience and always have more elaboration to tell. And it's very simple to, it's very acceptable to tell them, hey, can you elaborate on your question? I don't understand what you mean. What do you want to learn more? So again, showing that you are listening.
Yeah.
So all these are important things that you need to look at. So again, the way to prepare for it before you go to the interview, we would work backwards, which means you sit down, think about the past 1 or 2 years you have been working, identify all the situations that you have been going through that can show something that you added, write them down, okay, in details in the STAR methodology, And then go back and look at the leadership principles and see which of the principles apply to which of these situations that you have. So let's say that you are preparing 5 or 10 situations, then apply one or more of the principles to it. So this is an approach that can help you be ready. And when you go through this before the interview, on the interview day, it's going to be in your mind. You don't need to think about it. You don't want to be like waiting and thinking or coming up with something because of the time constraints. You need to prepare for this beforehand. And I'm going to share with you another link here that is talking about how the interviewing and the leadership principles are like. It's a very it's a blog post written by a previous Amazon manager, and it's one of the best resources that would tell you about the interviewing process, the leadership principles, and how to prepare for. The website is called scarletinc.com.
Yeah.
And the link is in the I shared with you in the chat.
Yeah, I'll leave it in the show notes.
Yep. So that's how the interview is, and that's very briefly how to prepare for it. An important thing is to study the leadership principles and prepare your stories and put them in a STAR methodology, and you will be ready.
That's pretty good. So I think I mentioned why I don't like STAR in the past, but the big thing that I find people forget, and I want to hear your opinion, like specifically about AWS, is they talk about like, all right, this is the situation, these are the tasks. It always sounds so robotic, like it's just facts. And sometimes feelings sell more than facts, right? And one of the big downsides of STAR is there is no feelings. This is the situation, these are the tasks, this is what I did, and
actions.
This is the result. But we don't talk about like, hey, the customer was angry, or I was anxious about doing this, and we were worried about losing the deal, right? It has to be a story. That's why I don't like STAR.
I tend to disagree. Like, nothing is gonna stop you from saying that. Like, why do you think if you are putting it in a framework, but then you are elaborating on the feelings about it, or the emotions that has been happening, that's still acceptable, right?
That's the thing. For people who are new, or like I've worked with people, new people trying to interview, and they go through the STAR methodology, is so right? And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, use the STAR methodology. I don't really, if that's what Amazon wants, like if that's what the customer wants, you use it, right? Just don't forget about the humanity, right? Don't forget about the stress you were under. Don't forget. So just add that to the STAR methodology and do what the customer wants, add that flavor, and you'll be fine.
That's very true. And one more thing to add here, people who interview you are not just like any employees, they are trained. So nobody is going to be interviewing you unless they are going through a very rigorous training to interview people. And within this training, they get to have checklists of what to look at, how to look, like your body language, what you say, all the stuff. So it's not a trivial thing to be an interviewer within Amazon AWS. So rest assured that it works. If you have the true value, they are gonna find out. They are there to find it out, to get it out of you. But definitely share your feelings, share whatever the situation is, the emotions that has been going through. That's fine. Just put it on this framework, because they are
that's what they're looking for.
They're looking for it,
which is fair.
It's fine. And I don't know why when I went through this several like times within this organization or others, when I look at the STAR methodology, it's pretty much covering the whole thing. By the way, you will also use the same thing when you move internally. So once you are there, if you are moving from one role to the other, you will do a mini loop. It's still a loop, and you go through the same things. Like they definitely would look more into what your achievements were within Amazon AWS, right? Because you have been like working for, let's say, 2 or 3 years, so now they are starting to see what have you achieved, and they have different set of checklists to go through.
Okay. All right, man. Well, that's been great. Any final thoughts before we get going?
Yeah, just like it's very important to know that Amazon, Google, Oracle, they are, and Microsoft, they are good, but they're not the only places out there. There's a lot of other organizations that are as good, that provide you very good roles, that like gives you like a lot of opportunities in there. And I'm still talking about the cloud jobs or the cloud field. So if you are out and looking for a job, definitely apply for these and apply through their websites, but also look on their websites, on their partners. So there is a lot of partners for these cloud providers. They actually work more into delivery of services and consulting, and they have like a lot of pre-sales roles as well. So look at these, and some of them are really, really like big organizations. They are not like just like, mom and pop shop, but they are big ones. So look at these ones as well, and you should be able to find the job. And if you apply with Amazon and you're not selected, it's fine. Apply again in 6 months. Probably like in 1 or 2 or 3 times you will get hired if you want.
Yeah.
If this
also, take those 6 months to meet more people from AWS.
Exactly, and build caliber and a lot of things. Yeah,
get certified.
Get certified. Like sometimes you can just go do an interview to see where the gaps are, what you need to do. Of course, it's not like the best way to spend your time and their time, but yeah, if get something out of it, right?
Well, that's the thing. If you start meeting people, maybe they'll help you do the interviews. They'll help you do the interview process, like a mock interview, and that will help you understand where the gaps are, and then you can actually
definitely.
So,
yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mohammed.
Sure.
For coming on. I really appreciate it. And maybe next session will be like a mock interview where you interview me with the Amazon.
Maybe.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we can do that too. Thank you so much for having me here today.
It's my pleasure, man. We'll talk soon.
Thanks.
All right. And that brings us to the end of the show. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this was useful. Each company has its own way of doing things. In this case, Amazon has its own way of doing things. Google might be a little bit different. Each company is a little bit different. I've interviewed with many companies that don't have the streamlined process, and that's kind of a big issue of mine, where an interview process can go 6 months. But I'm glad at least Amazon is streamlined like that, and they have a process on hand. If you've been in an interview process and you want to share that, please let me know. I'm happy to have you on the show. Otherwise, I hope you took something out of this. And with that, I'm signing off.